It's been a long time since we've heard from you. By my count, 7 years since
Yep.
the last album. So, where you been?
Um, where have I been?
This is a long, thoughtful pause.
Yeah, I mean, doing a lot of things. Writing for movies, writing for TV, writing for other people, trying to write the Snow Patrol record, mainly, of course. Started writing it in 2013.
Wait, I'm going to stop you here. I have a quote from Rolling Stone saying, "For 5 of those 7 years, I was hammered."
Oh, well, I was also drunk. You asked me what I was doing.
All right.
I'm gonna get to that.
Okay. So let's talk about working with Ed Sheeran,
Yeah.
singing with Taylor Swift, and what else?
Worked with Taylor, worked with Ed, worked with One Direction, worked with various other singers and songwriters and artists. That Biffy Clyro did a song on their record. Various other things. But yeah, mostly trying and failing to write the Snow Patrol record, but eventually succeeding, which is why we're here.
I heard from a variety of people said that you had some writer's block, but how could you possibly have Snow Patrol writer's block when you seem to be so prolific in all these other areas?
Yeah, writing for Snow Patrol isn't like writing for anybody else. It means too much to me. I started the band when I was 18, 1994. We'll be 25 years together next year. It just meant too much to me. I think I just brought too much anxiety into the initial songwriting process and just collapsed under the weight of it.
So you had set a bar that was so high, a personal bar that was so high, or?
I'm not sure that there was any bar set particularly, but it was just that I knew that what I was writing wasn't good enough, and I wasn't going to stop until I got it right, as far as I was concerned.
Didn't meet your standards for a Snow Patrol song.
Mm-hmm.
So that created you said it collapsed under its own weight.
Yeah, I didn't. I first of all didn't really know what I wanted to write about, which took a long time to figure out. It was only until I got sober that I figured that out. I started to get the sort of clarity that comes with sobriety. I mean, it's not something I know much about until 2 years ago when I stopped drinking. And even then, after it was still 6 months or 9 months later that the clarity started to descend. It wasn't an instant thing. Oh, I quit drinking, I'm fine now.
You said you were an American alcoholic and an Irish drinker.
Yeah. And I think that's true for anyone. An Irish person doesn't really see themselves as an alcoholic. It's not a problem.
Well, I've been to Dublin
for everyone else, but it's not my problem.
I've been to Dublin and Belfast. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Some people have a hair trigger on these things, and I can understand it. Different people think alcoholism is something different, and whatever works for them to help them live a healthier life, I guess. But for me, I was never really. I didn't see myself as an alcoholic, I guess, and I just was a heavy drinker. And it was only really that I started to see it in a kind of a negative way. I started drinking on my own, things like that. It's never a good look.
At 2:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday.
Well, never before 5, but 5:01 came and I didn't have a drink in my hand. It was it was a difficult day.
So what is this record about? I mean, it's typically anthemic Snow Patrol. If you listen to it, it's powerfully emotional stuff. And sometimes the lyrics are very clear. Sometimes you have to really listen to them. Sometimes read them to try and figure out exactly what you're talking about. So what would you say the overriding themes and the overriding inspiration of this record was all about?
We got a family genealogy thing done on like the back of Reader's Digest or something, like back in the 80s, and it hung on the wall like a certificate of our family name. I don't know how authentic it was or correct it was, but it had a family crest. How can the Lightbody name have a family crest? That's not a royal name. But anyway, it had a crest. So that made me, at the time I thought I was very proud of it, but now I look back on it, I think, yeah, somebody was pulling our leg. But there was a motto in Latin, that said Lightbody, and then underneath it said Clarior e Tenebrius, which means brighter after the darkness. And that always resonated with me. Whether it's true as a family motto or not, I'm not sure, but it always resonated with me from I was a kid. And I think this is finally the record that I wrote inspired by that, the more I think about it. And that is hope in dark times. And I think this record is trying to shed light on all the darkness that I've kind of avoided.
There seems to be some strong emotion there too. The first two tracks in the running order in the album, you're dropping the F-bomb quite a bit.
Well, I mean, twice in the first one. Oh, fair enough. It's repeated. The chorus is repeated. Yeah, so 6 times, and once in the twice. Sorry, in the second one. Yes, there is eight F-bombs in the first 2 songs. It's the only word that worked. We had to do a radio edit for "Don't Give In," and I had to change it to the line is "it'll fuck up your mind," but I had to change it to "it'll mess up your mind." And singing it, I just felt kind of it doesn't resonate. The "it'll fuck up your mind" is the only word that worked, and in Life on Earth too, the F word was the only word that worked. People think that some people might think that it's profanity for profanity's sake. I never use the F word in songs unless
not the way you sing it.
It actually counts. It actually makes sense. It actually is the only word that fits. I don't use it willy-nilly.
No, and like I say, it works the 8 times that you sing it in that song. It's because you say it's the right word. Mm-hmm. Is there any other songs on the record that are particularly close to you? I mean, that's a stupid thing for me to ask since you're the songwriter, but is there something, those first couple of songs, is there anything else on the record that makes you go, wow, nice effort, me?
Yeah, I think the whole record makes me feel like that, I have to say, but soon, probably the song about my dad and his dementia is probably a song that I probably feel the most strongly about. It's a song that's trying to connect both of us together in a way that becomes more and more difficult as his illness takes hold.
As we get older, we're all dealing with parents that are aging, mm-hmm. and so I know what you've been going through. So it's a tough thing to face up to. It really is. So
did you go through that
with a grandfather who lived to 102 and a half, and wow. He was sharp as a tack until his 100th birthday, and then after that, it was just this towering man just descended into something that he could not comprehend, and no one else around him could comprehend. The only thing that brought him back was music. And we would have a radio in his hospital room, and he would listen to the radio, and all of a sudden the memories and the speech and everything would come back. So it was a pretty... I know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry you went through that.
Peter Gabriel. So was he some kind of inspiration for this record?
Yeah. We with working with Jackknife, you kind of his whole studio is kind of insulated with vinyl, and he there's maybe 20,000 LPs in his studio, and he knows wherever all of them are and can pick one out. They're not alphabetized. It's just in his mind palace. He's got them all in order somehow. And he's picking things out for various moments when there's kind of a stall in proceedings, when we're not getting where we maybe want to get to.
Can you give us an example of a song on the record where somebody else's music created a breakthrough?
Yeah, Nick Cave. I was trying to write the song that would become a Youth Written in Fire, and I wasn't getting anywhere with it. And Garrett put the new, at the time it was new, Nick Cave record on, and the first track on that is a song called Jesus Alone. And it's just the shuddering, rumbling bass and the intense, and the song is an extraordinarily intense song about unimmeasurable loss. Immeasurable loss, excuse me. And I just was completely and utterly in it immediately. I just felt like something atomic was happening at a cellular level. There was something changing, and I said, "Please play it again." He played it again, and again and again and again. We listened to it maybe 10 times, and then I started to write. And as I started to write, Garrett got up. Nathan was there as well. Nathan and Garrett got up and said, "We're just going to go and get a sandwich. We'll come back half an hour." And when they came back in half an hour, I'd written the song start to finish. That used to be the way I did it, but on this album it was rare. So that sort of, the confidence that gave me going forward was immense.
It's kind of like a prescription, a doctor writing a prescription. This is what you need to get over what ails you.
Yeah.
And he puts on Nick Cave and it comes through.
It was absolutely the most connected to whatever the spirit of music is that I've ever been. It felt like there was something really, really channeling through me.
How did you
channeling through him to me?
How did you get hooked up with Ed Sheeran? I mean, he's one of the biggest solo artists in the world right now.
Yeah.
And you know, he's selling out stadiums, 60,000 people.
Yeah.
How did you ever hook up with him?
We were playing a show in Switzerland, a radio festival, and Ed was on the bill. And I went to his dressing room. He wasn't there. I was a fan of his first record, and I wanted to go and say hi. And he wasn't there, so I left him a note, just saying, you know, big fan. Hang out later if you fancy it, something like that. There was more to it than that, but that was the gist. Then he came to our dressing room when he got back and was like, "I'm
he seems like a really nice guy.
I'd like to hang out with you." And so afterwards we went out in Zurich and got drunk and had a really fun night. And we were just friends since then. And we've written together. Him and Johnny McDade, of course, have written together a lot. And Johnny's produced songs of his as well.
So that's been a nice alternate revenue stream.
Yes, I mean, yeah, he's an extraordinary songwriter, extraordinary performer, and you know, he came on tour with us in 2011, and we actually played in Toronto. He supported us the last time we were here, and this time we're supporting him, and he's playing stadiums. It's an incredible rise that he's had. You know, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
What about working with Taylor Swift?
She was fantastic as well.
How did that happen?
That was through Ed.
Oh, really?
That was through Ed. He was working with her on her Red album, or what would become the Red album, and I went into the studio to meet them both and say hi. And I can't remember whether I said, "You want to write a song?" or she said, "You want to write a song?" But somebody said it, and then we did it. Not long after that, it was myself and Jack Knifley and her. We wrote the last time together, and I did some gigging with her as well, and played, sang with her on stage. It was a lot of fun.
So again, you are becoming this go-to songwriter guy.
I don't know about that. I think Johnny McDade is a go-to songwriter guy for sure. I think I'm maybe on a B list somewhere in terms of a go-to
I think
list.
you know Ed Sheeran, One Direction, Harry Styles.
I don't mean the people I'm working with are B list by any means. I just mean that there are people there are go-to songwriters that people would go to before me.
I think you're on a good career track here then.
Well, you know, it's a lot of fun, but you know, Snow Patrol is the great love of my life.
So what's the plan for the rest of Wildness's lifetime?
Touring until next Christmas, probably. We're booked on tour until the festivals next summer, and then after that we'll probably be more, and then we'll be making another album.
All we need now is another hospital drama to adopt you.
Oh, well, you know what I mean. You get one of those.
Well, thanks very much. I really appreciate it. I've been a fan of the band for decades, and awesome. I hope this one is a really solid. I don't want to call it comeback, but I want to have everybody understand that this is a very good record, and it is. If you were missing Snow Patrol, they're back.
Awesome.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.